Hey guys, it's GrizzzlyGoat here, and today we're going to discuss something that could drastically affect the long-term life of Rainbow Six Siege, and it's not what you might think. We're going to discuss just how powerful the arcade mode, yes, the arcade mode, can be as a player to help grow and sustain a larger player base for this 5-year-old game. Now, I'm making this video just after the recent closure of the Legacy event, and I'm likely going to save my criticisms for the mode in my season overview, so I'm not going into extreme detail about the event today. But I'm sure we can all agree that the event was at least a little bit disappointing. In fact, the arcade playlist in itself since its release has been disappointing. I was a major proponent of the addition of this mode. I mean, to be flat out honest with you, it honestly was literally the reason why I started this channel to begin with. It was my very first video. While I am thankful that Ubisoft has implemented this mode, because it has incorporated more playable content in the game, there is still a lot of room for improvement. But what I'm about to talk about is quite bigger than the scale of just adding in more playable content. It's about adding more players. Just to give a bit of background information, let's talk about the industry as a whole right now. Rainbow Six is an extremely niche game, and it is honestly pretty unfair to directly correlate it with other games, even FPSs for that matter. But if we're being realistic in general here, Rainbow's two main competitor player bases are Call of Duty and Battlefield. Now, it might sound bizarre to even remotely compare these two franchises to Rainbow, which is fair for you to think, but that's just really where I believe the bulk of the players come from. We will talk about games like Overwatch and CSGO later. If we take a look at the situation of Battlefield right now, it's pretty bad. The longer tenured Battlefield content creators like Matimio, LevelCap, and Jack Frags rarely ever post videos of the latest Battlefield games and content. If they are posting Battlefield content, it's usually from older games like 3 and 4. From what I have heard, there is hype very slowly building for the next Battlefield game, but it is still at a very low point of morale for the Battlefield community right now. The term Battlefield refugee is being used for players who left Battlefield to join other games' player bases and communities. The game that carries this term the most right now is Call of Duty Cold War. With the recent Call of Duties, really ever since the introduction of skill-based matchmaking and advanced warfare, the veteran player base has been slowly dwindling and shrinking, with some giving up on Call of Duty as a whole, or just not being nearly as active in the game as they used to be. There is the addition of new players, and that has hugely contributed to the creation of Activision's spin-off Battle Royale, Warzone. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Within the multiplayer atmosphere of Call of Duty, the skill-based matchmaking crisis really is pushing veteran players away from the franchise. And with keeping up with one of the best Call of Duty content creators out right now, Exclusive Ace, it's not even just a matter of SBMM existing. It's just the putrid lack of transparency from Activision and developing studios on the matter. When talking about these two franchises, these are the ones that I grew up on playing, Call of Duty and Battlefield. With Call of Duty, I started with Black Ops 1, with me slowly starting to play the franchise less, after halfway through Black Ops 3's lifecycle. Around that time, I enjoyed playing Search and Destroy a lot. I enjoyed learning how the maps played, trying different strategies on a non-respawn competitive game mode. After this time though, Rainbow Six Siege came out, and I started playing it Christmas of 2015. Since that time, I slowly started playing Call of Duty less and less, not only due to the fact that I got my kick of non-respawn and a much more immersive experience and environment in Rainbow, but SBMM has progressively worsened my experience with the recent Call of Duties, and it's to the point where I might only play Cold War multiplayer like once a week. With Battlefield, I started with Battlefield 3, to later pick up and enjoy the absolute heck out of Battlefield 4. After the release of Battlefield 1, it seems the franchise and its popularity has just been on the decline since then. Many of the Battlefield YouTubers went off to play different games, like Matimio switching to Rainbow, and Jack Frag switching to Battle Royale games like Warzone. I fall in the category of a lot of Battlefield players now, that just play it every now and then, just to be able to enjoy what Battlefield was. But many enthusiasts are hopeful about the next Battlefield title resurrecting the player base and community. So now what about games on a global popularity scale, like Overwatch and Counter-Strike? Yes, obviously these games are very important to talk about, but me as a person who has played on console basically their entire life, Battlefield and Call of Duty are as big as shooter titles can get, since games like Counter-Strike just never came to the PS4. But when talking about Overwatch, it is basically at an all-time low right now in terms of player count and popularity. The idea of introducing a second Overwatch game, while controversial, is honestly exactly what it needs in order to revive the game's popularity on a global scale and bring back its large player base. But there are still no exact dates on when that is supposed to arrive. So where am I going with all of this? Well, hold on just a second. It is important to note though that even Rainbow's player base and popularity has been reportedly declining in 2020. Although with the most recent season, Operation Zero Dawn, We have been seeing a small uptrend, which could be attributed to a plethora of factors, but when we get down to the question, how can Rainbow Six grow its player base even being a 5-year-old game? And what does arcade mode have to do with any of it? Well, let's talk about Battle Royale. After PUBG lit the fuse of the Battle Royale explosion, there has been a common theme with each game. Think about it. What do Fortnite, Apex, and Warzone all have in common? They are all free. This is part of the reason why these BRs are as big as they are, is because they're all free. Now this is the part where arcade can come into play. From the very beginning, I've always wanted a playlist like arcade to have consistent amounts and variable types of game modes, so you could have the chance to play arcade modes for at least the majority of the season, rather than just 2 weeks of a whole season. But this isn't really necessary, just a recommendation. The part that is necessary though, is that it has to be free in order for it to attract new players. With all of these games on the downtrend with passionate longtime players, it would be perfect for Rainbow to try to throw a line to lure in great community members and players from other games. Just like how Fortnite Battle Royale was to save the world, or how Warzone is to the remainder of the Call of Duty modes and how they were set up, you got part of the game for free. But in order to get the rest of the game, you have to pay for it. There are factors in the game like progression that can be used across the different game modes and work perfectly for Rainbow. With this system, not only does Ubisoft gain more profit from selling more games and content, but we also get more players that are playing the game. In my own opinion, the system would be a win-win. But not so long ago, Ubisoft actually wanted to make Rainbow Six Siege free. The only obstacle in their way was the rampant numbers of smurfing. So basically the only reason the entire game isn't free right now is because of smurfs. But with this system, smurfing isn't made any more easier, since they would still have to buy the game in order to play ranked. Even if you, as a normal player of the game, don't care about the changing player base numbers, you can still get the effects of the new changes so you can play more content in the arcade playlist. If Ubisoft were to extend the amount of arcade modes, they could run these with the Battle Pass, whether that be from start to end, or just have alternating weeks where there is an arcade mode and no mode. So every 14 days, there would be a playable mode for 7 days and a rest period for 7, with different modes every cycle. This would not only incentivize free players to buy and experience the rest of the game, but would keep arcade modes fresh, because queue times for arcade modes after the first week are almost always very poor. It took me about 6 minutes to find a legacy game even with 10 days remaining in the event. All I'm really saying is this. The basic premise is to just simply make arcade mode free for everyone. That's really the most basic thing at the heart of it. There is a real chance to bring in more players from other games that aren't really doing so hot right now. I don't really see how it could hurt the game, just help it. There is potential for it to bring dollars in for Ubisoft, so I don't necessarily see why they would decline either. The only thing is that I feel like we should see more modes more frequently going forward with this playlist. This is just a proposition after all. Some people may not like this, and that's fine. If Ubisoft were to not make the arcade mode free in Warzone to Call of Duty style, the player retention would heavily be dependent on this, the opener of Year 6. Year 6 in itself is going to set the tone for whether or not this game is going to continue to live for a long time. Operation Phantom Sight signaled this future change. With a fresh new year and hopes that normal work conditions and schedules can return back to normal after a rough year for production or likely in the near future. COVID has hit Rainbow pretty hard, and we will see if it can survive the hit and continue to march forward and show it to be just as persevering as it has been throughout the last 5 years. That is all for this video, but I heavily encourage you to scroll down to the comment section, because I will be leaving some pieces of discussion in the pinned comment. But with that being said, what are your thoughts on this idea? Should the arcade mode be free? Why were people losing interest in Rainbow? Let me know all the thoughts you have in the comments down below. I am looking forward to responding to them. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. GrizzzlyGoat out.